All right. How's it going, Nick?
Good. How are you?
Good. Got Mr. Nick Kaplan here. It's the EricSwahnRacing.com podcast. I believe episode 121. And you're from MonkeyGripp. So thanks for coming on and talking to me for about an hour or so today. And already recorded. I just hit the record button there. So I just like to jump right into it. Um, so you're a big guy in the motorsports community. So I just want to get your feedback, get your story, and talk about your business a little bit.
Sure. You said I'm a big guy in the road racing community. What does that mean? I don't know how far and wide people know about monkey grips. I really honestly don't.
Well, I've seen it at the track before, and I think the last person I saw was Sophia Oberlander had one on her bike, and I was like, oh wow, it's out there. I've never used one myself personally, but I definitely know the benefit of it. It can be a big help. It's changing your ergonomics on the motorcycle is a big thing because everybody has a different body shape, body style, riding style, and sometimes, in the past, I put a whole bunch of seat foam pads on the back of my bike to help push me forward, but yours is kind of like gripping the tank and pushes you a little farther back.
Uh, yeah, it does more than that. It does more than just put you back in the tank, back in the saddle. Um, so do you want to just jump into it? You want to talk about the function of these things, or?
Yeah, that's fine. I know that it helps kind of lock your knee in when you're getting from side to side and helps to transfer a weight a little bit.
Yeah, so I think about it in terms of hanging off, hard braking, and then rider setback. So those three things. Um, well, I'll just ramble about it. So for me, it started with hanging off. That was the reason why I started messing around with the foam on my tank, and I was road racing myself a couple years ago, and I've got super short legs. Kept hearing about the advantages of hanging off more and standing the bike up, and just could not hold the tank with my short ass little legs. I've got a long torso and like really short legs, like ridiculously short. I'm 5'6", so I'm short to start, but
Okay.
then I have really short legs, like relative to proportions of my whole body. And so if I hang off, my knee just slips right off the tank. I was riding a 2012 R6 at the time, um, and stomp grip and any kind of traction pad just was not cutting it. My knee would just lose the tank entirely, and I had seen tank shrouds, GP style carbon fiber on R1s, and had never seen them on an R6, but R1s, and I think they had it for the Gixxer 1000 at the time. Um, so I had seen those and thought, well, why don't I make my own thing? And I got yoga blocks,
Oh yeah.
uh, and started messing around with those and sticking them on the tank. And um, my actual business name is Missing Finger Inc.
Is
That's
there a
like
reason
my
behind that?
IRS. Well, I
Oh,
know
there you
this
go.
isn't on, it's not on the podcast, but you see that middle finger? I cut that off with a belt sander messing around with the yoga blocks.
Ah,
Um,
dangerous.
well, it's stupid me. I had taken the cover off of the sander so I could shoot, compressed air and clean it out real easy. Well, dumbest thing I've ever done because I got my finger caught in it reaching around it one day, and the rubber belt from the motor to the belt sander just grabbed my finger and just crushed the shit out of it.
Ah, man.
Um, yeah, I can remember that like it was yesterday. Just all in a second, boom, pulled my finger out and it was just dangling
Things go bad real fast.
real fast. Couldn't feel a thing. Didn't hurt at all. Um, Bleeding like hell, but I couldn't feel a thing. It didn't hurt. So I was messing around with yoga blocks and started to so it didn't work real well because it didn't match the shape of the tank,
Yeah.
So to getting that backside of the foam to match the shape of the tank was the first hurdle in trying to make these things. Took me a year and a half to actually find a process from start to finish where I could design something and then have it make a silicone mold to produce a product. But it took a year and a half to figure that out. It was not easy.
Oh, I bet. And then all the motorcycles, they're not all the same tank size. There's tons of different tank shapes. So
Um,
yeah, it takes a while to put everything together, and all the tanks are different. So it's probably hard to get a universal backing on that.
yeah, I haven't tried to do a universal yet, but that's going to be a problem to solve because I think I'm going to have to make it flexible enough, but stiff enough on the others. I mean, it's going to. I've been working on it for a while and just haven't gotten there on a universal. So it is. They are model specific. You have to get the one made for your stock tank. Um, so do you want to hear about kind of how that design process went, or you asked me what you want to know? I could just ramble.
Yeah, so I have like a little pep talk I wrote down. It's something like, please swear, be yourself, like have an unpopular opinion. The floor is yours, the stage is yours. Don't feel like you're rambling. That's the whole point of this, is to go deep dive into whatever you want to talk about. I feel like I talk
Okay.
too much a lot on the podcast. So just try not to answer with like one word questions, and things flow pretty well. I've been trying not to write down a list of bullet points, because I found that when I do that, I'm just like going from bullet point to bullet point, and then when I'm out of bullet points, I don't know what to say. So I just try
Uh-huh.
to, make it more of a conversation instead of interview style.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we can talk about I'd love to hear the details of how the design came about, and
Okay.
what it's made from, and things
Uh-huh.
like that. And yeah, we can go from there.
Okay. Um, so let's see. Started with the yoga block foam and shaping those things and getting it to stick on the tank was just not working. So then I moved to um, actually pouring the expanding foam on the tank. So I kind of built a dam around the. This was my first attempt. I mean, looking back, it's like holy shit.
Yeah,
This is
it's the
archaic, but
evolution of everything. It's got to start somewhere.
you're right. Yeah, it was. That's why I love these. I don't know if you've seen my Instagram in detail yet, um, but I love posting pictures of guys' homemade tank extenders because it shows the thought process. They've got a problem that they're trying to solve, and how do you get that fucking thing to stick on there? You duct tape and foam, and I saw one the other day. I think I posted it actually. There was rags.
Oh,
The
really?
guy taped rags onto his tank, and I love it because when you actually start to really break down the problem, solving that problem, it's not easy. And so when these fucking people on social media say, "Oh, it's just a piece of foam," why are you charging $225? They have no idea what time it takes to make the thing, let alone how much investment it's taken to the print, the 3D printing, the scanner, the my entire garage is full of tools to make this shit. And so when people say, "Oh, just a piece of foam," it's like, "Fuck you! You have no idea.
Yeah,
You have no idea.
it's
You go ahead, you make one, and get back to me, motherfucker."
yeah, it's like the mechanic who charges $5,000 for a 30-minute fix. You're not paying for the tools he used. You're paying for the 30 years of
Right. I
experience he
love that.
has.
I love that. I've seen those memes. Yeah. It takes me 30 minutes because I have the 30 years of doing this. You go do it yourself and see if you can do it in 30 minutes.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So I get on my high horse about this when people start talking trash, and just to kind of get it out of the way. One of the things that just drives me nuts on social media and hearing from people is when they say, "Oh, it's ugly." It's like, you know what? If what I call those writers, I call them what are those? It's like a kids cartoon where they all match. There's like a yellow one and a red one and a blue one.
I'm thinking like
Power
Power
Rangers.
Rangers. Yeah.
Power Rangers. Those guys that are Power Rangers, where they have to have their bike match their leathers and everything's got to be spotless and scratch free. It's like monkey grips aren't for you, man.
Yeah.
My
And
monkey grips are really designed towards the guy who's got those clapped out R6 or whatever bike, is just piece of junk and is fast and wants to go faster and will do anything it takes to like make himself more comfortable on the bike and doesn't care what he looks like because he wants to go fast. Like that's and women, sorry.
yeah.
Um, women are out there, man, like Felicia, what's her name? Rodriguez or the woman that's doing the she's
Patricia,
doing the bag. What's her name?
Patricia Fernandez.
Yes, exactly.
And
She
actually,
is.
I just saw that they got married. Corey West and Patricia, I just
Oh,
saw
no
got married.
way.
So it might be Patricia West. I'm not sure if you're changing it or how that goes.
Yeah, so I brought her up just because there are fast women out there. I mean, I just saw a video super cute of that young girl who's just beating everybody.
Kaylee
Um,
Yakov,
yep, she's got this cardboard cutout of her in grocery stores now
Mission
with
Foods.
yes,
Too
and
fast, too tasty.
yeah. So she's in the grocery store, standing by. It was so cute.
Yeah,
Um,
she's killing it. It's great to see men and women
yeah.
and out there and competing in the same class. I interviewed or podcasted with Desiree Caldwell, who's a Texas Tornado boot camp instructor, and she's in
Okay.
Moto America Junior Cup too. And I asked
Uh-huh.
her, do you want to have an all women's class? And she's like, not really. I want to compete with the big boys. I want to compete like in the same universal
Yeah.
unisex
Yeah.
class.
Yeah. It's awesome when the girls beat the boys, and boy, the boys hate that.
Yeah,
But
I
I love
mean,
it.
I've been
I
beat
love it.
by Ann Roberts at I think it was Wera Nationals at Road Atlanta, and I
Uh-huh.
wasn't mad that she was. I was like, that's awesome. Like, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see more
Yeah.
women out there.
Yeah. And Kayla's incredible. Um, so I'm digressing here. I'm getting off topic. So when people you know, criticize monkey grips because of how they look, it just drives me bananas because to me, racing isn't about looks, and the guys that are looking all snazzy and perfect bikes, and those Ducatis are just these beautiful works of art. That it's like, how can you go fast on a bike that where you're just concerned about the looks?
Right.
You
Yeah.
gotta be you gotta be willing to throw that thing up the road.
Yep.
Um, so anyway, so I'll get back to that the whole looks thing, but so trying to let me go back to the main kind of the design process and how I figured out how to make these. Um, Sometimes my sister says, "Now, when you talk to people, don't give them the secret sauce so they can make their own monkey grips." I'm like, nobody's gonna do this for all the bikes that are out there. It's just insane how much work it takes to make these. I don't think people realize how much work it does take.
Yeah, and
Uh,
even if you do give them the idea, like ideas are free, implementation is a bitch.
yeah, I love that. That's a good bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I've been doing this for 3 years now. I think it's going to have my third annual Black Friday sale. Um, and I literally have not taken but maybe 2 or 3 days off in 3 years. It sounds nuts, but it's true. I have been nose to the grindstone with this, and every day I don't do the 12, 14-hour days anymore. But at the beginning, it was 12, 14 hours a day when I was like, holy shit, this thing works. I actually have something that I think people will want. So that was an exciting time when I realized in my own racing, the prototype that I got to work for myself, I took 5 seconds off my own home track,
Wow.
where I was like, maybe squeezing out a second here or a half a second there, and really plateaued at that track. And once I started messing around with the foam and really felt good hanging off the bike and under braking, especially the low profile and the high profile, which have this concave shape to the sidewall. Man, you can just brake hard and keep all of your weight off of the bars, um, it, it it really made a difference in my own riding. And one of my goals was to beat one of my fellow competitors, Jared Deere,
Okay.
fast guy, and he was, smoking me all season long. And in the very last race of the season, I almost beat him. And so I gained 5 seconds and almost beat Jared. And I was like, these things actually work.
That's
And I
huge.
have to, what's that?
That's huge.
It was. I mean, and I really attribute the drop in time to the MonkeyGripp because I was so much more comfortable on the bike, so much more stable braking. Hanging off was like, it was comfortable. I didn't feel like, oh shit, I'm gonna fall off here in a second. And some really long sweepers that we have at the tracks that I go to. Um, it didn't feel like I was gonna fall off, and it just made a world of difference. So yoga block, and then I started casting the foam around the tank so that the foam would capture the shape of the tank. So then I would pop that off and then do the shaping of the outside of the MonkeyGripp because I had the backside, the inside facing the tank. And so that was working better, but still not something that I could reproduce. I can't cast every single one and then sculpt them. Like that was insane. So how can I make a master pattern that I could then use to make a mold and then cast the foam? And I knew I wanted to do foam and not carbon fiber um, for several reasons. Um, the main reason was that the foam is actually makes it really comfortable. It's a stiff foam. It's 17-pound foam, but it does give a little bit. And man, it's very comfortable, more so than just the hard, you know, carbon fiber that doesn't give it all. So I knew I wanted to do foam, and to do foam, I knew I had to cast in a mold of some type. And so, because of the shape, you have to have a mold that will release the master pattern. So you can't do a stiff mold. You have to have silicone that will flex
Okay.
and release that master from the inside so that you can take it out. Um, so let's see. Trying to figure out how to get symmetry was the next hurdle. So I knew I didn't even try. I never even attempted it, but I knew that I couldn't sculpt both halves of the MonkeyGripp symmetrically.
Hmm.
Like I could get close, but it would be off, and people would see that it was off, and there was no way that I could do that. So I had to get symmetry, and so I started working with a material called Freeform Air, which is a smooth-on product. It's really neat two-part epoxy that's super easy to mix, and I just stick it right on the tank after waxing the tank so that it doesn't bond to the tank, and I can take it off. So I sculpt one half of the shape and then scan it with a 3D scanner and then print that with a 3D printer. So that's how I solved the symmetry problem. Was taking my organic shape that I hand sculpted with that material and then scanning and then printing, and then from there making a master pattern that was perfectly symmetrical. So without getting into all the details of exactly how that works, I actually have they did a profile on me from BCN 3D, which is a Spanish 3D printer manufacturer, and my upgraded to their printer, which has two nozzles, so you can print two parts at the same time, which is super cool. You just double your output.
Yeah.
So they did this little write up on me and show my process from the sculpted part to the scanning to the printing of the final master pattern product. So BCN 3D, I just love the printer. It's a great. Haven't had any problems with it. It just works. You push the button and it works. It's
That's
fucking
good.
great. Have you
And
ever messed around with 3D printing at all?
You know, it seems like it's going to be the wave of the future. I've seen they 3D print houses now.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's a big printer.
It's awesome. Those 3D houses really are cool. Have you seen the inside, the interior walls, and
I've seen like videos of it, but not in person.
oh, they're just it's really neat.
It sounds like you
Uh,
got to do a lot of research just to get to a prototype model of these things.
of my MonkeyGripp.
Yeah, just to get like a basic understanding of everything, you got to really do your homework and go through all the different options and see, well, this might not work because of this problem.
Yeah.
And then just to start seems like such a task.
Oh yeah, it was a year and a half. It was a solid year and a half of just every day, like, okay, what's the next thing I have to figure out? You know, I had to figure out the software to manipulate the 3D scan. Like I knew nothing about any of this. I had never 3D scanned. I had never 3D printed. So it was starting from zero.
Yeah.
You know, YouTube University and talking to people online. Um, I'm a kid of the 80s and we didn't have any of this, you know. We had like encyclopedias and the freaking library, and the information that's available now is just unbelievable. I would not have been able to do this in the 80s. I mean, actually 5 years ago I wouldn't have been able to do this because the cost of 3D scanners and 3D printers was just astronomical. You know, you're looking at 5 to 10 grand for a scanner, and now really usable scanners are $1,000.
Wow, that's a huge
Um,
price reduction in just a couple of years.
oh yeah, yeah. It was like untouchable because it was so expensive to a poor guy like me.
Yeah.
Um, and now you know $1,000 for the scanner, and then my first printers were $400. They were you know a lot of tinkering, and they worked, but you know $400 5 years earlier, I don't even know what you could have got. You know, kind of a home 3D printer, how much they would cost, but I know they were a lot.
Yeah.
So the technology is like the right time. You know, there's another podcast called How I Built This. Do you know that one?
I'm not familiar with that one.
The guy who does it is Guy Raz. Can't stand his interview style. He's just so annoying. But he interviews these founders of companies. It's amazing to hear these stories of you know, they did the billionaire who owns the Mavericks.
Hmm.
He's been on there a couple times.
Mark Cuban.
Yep, exactly. Um, but I bring that up because a lot of those founders would say, you know, a lot of the success is the timing. That's just luck. You know, if I had done, a lot of them would say, if I had done this a year earlier or a year later, it wouldn't have worked. It was the timing of the project, or releasing the service or the product or whatever, that really was a huge part of the success. And so I really attribute the timing of this to the technology being available at an affordable price for me to tinker around with it. And you know, I've got my printer going now. I don't know if you can hear it, but I've got parts running right now. Um, so actually, after I figured out how to make the master pattern, then there was the whole thing of the silicone mold, and that was a whole new world. I hadn't ever messed with silicone molds, or maybe box molds you've heard of, where you just take literally a box, you stick your part in there, and then pour the silicone around it. Like that's the simplest kind of way to make a mold. So I started to experiment with how to make a silicone mold effectively that was usable, made a decent, you know, final product, and that took 6 months to figure out.
Yeah.
So kind of gotten it to a really efficient place now. I've got a few employees um, working. I just have a shop in the garage, and I've got a room dedicated to the printer and all my crap that goes along with this. Um, all the materials and foams and epoxies. It's just it's hard to believe how much it takes to make a very simple product.
Sure. It sounds like
Um,
you could probably go into some sort of consulting for mold and 3D printing and like product development.
I don't know if I'm that good yet. I'm kind of, I know how to make these things, but anything else, I think it would be out of my wheelhouse. I just met Ryan Sean Smith yesterday, actually, with Carbon Smith.
Okay.
He makes the oh shoot, he's known for the things that go on top of the intake. What are those called?
The intake
It's
manifold.
no, it's like a tube that kind of
Oh,
opens up.
velocity stacks.
Yep, velocity stacks.
All
He's
right.
got these dimpled velocity stacks that actually increase power.
Like a golf
Um,
ball kind of texture.
yep, it looks just like a golf ball, exactly.
Cool.
Um, so I just met with him and it was kind of learning about his mold making, which is totally different than what I'm doing because he's manufacturing all carbon parts.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's got molds that you have to keep under pressure because it's like a solid carbon
Hmm.
that's a liquid, and then so he's got carbon parts like that, and then he manufactures um, winglets, and the velocity stacks. He does all that on 3D printers, but he's starting to dabble with molds for carbon part manufacturing. Um, so, but it just kind of it was a different way of making molds, and it was like really neat to see because it's just a different world of part making that's very different than casting the foam. Um, very different. So so yeah, I could ramble on about the main making of these things, but is there anything you wanted to know about, kind of how the business is gone, or like what
Yeah.
you asked me?
So
I feel
uh,
like I'm rambling now.
no, you're good. So if people want to buy them, how do they go about doing that? Do you make them one off, or do you have like a warehouse full of parts ready to go?
Oh no, so it's my garage and it is packed to the gills. I do not have room to have um, products in stock. So, and there's so many color variations that you can have different colors for the exterior of it, and then the logo color you can do. So there's so many logo or so many color variations that I just when someone orders it, I make it within 3 days usually. Um, Sometimes the same day if I've got nothing going on. So they order from the website. And the only other place you can get monkey grips other than my website, monkeygrip.com, it's with two P's. People sometimes spell it two words and one P, and it's one word with two P's, monkey grip.
All right.
It's important because if you do one P, then you get like, I don't know, I think it's tape.
Oh,
There's a tape or something called monkey grip. Um, so my website, and then Norton Power Sports, I've kind of worked with Jesse Norton. He'd be a good one to interview.
yeah.
You
I'm down
haven't?
for just talking to just about anybody on here, whether they're motorsports related or not, or businesses, or just friends and family. Just about
Uh-huh.
anybody, it'd be fine with me.
Yeah, you should talk to Jesse. He's in deep. I mean, he's got tons of specialty parts for road racing bikes and levers, and I mean, he's got all kinds of stuff. And he has monkey grips on his website just because he gave me a great deal on, the websites usually want 40, 50, 60% markup, and he was willing to do a really low percentage markup and just help me out, get me started, and get the word out there. So I got him on nortonpowersports.com. I think that's his website. And that's about it.
Are you
Um,
looking for other distributors or dealers to start listing your product?
for sure. I've been really thinking about that and exploring it, but the markup that people want to make on carrying a product, even if they drop ship, people want this crazy markup. And maybe if I was having these made in China and brought the cost way down, but I'm making them by hand in my little shop, one at a time, man. So the markup that my markup isn't really not huge. So people want them. at wholesale prices, and doesn't leave me a lot of wiggle room to give it to them for what they want it for. Um, but I have talked to people in Europe and Great Britain and in the United States, North America, South America, um, who are interested in being distributors, but they want too much.
Yeah, that's
So
a
it's
hard thing to you just gotta say this is what we offer. If you don't want it, then walk away. Like you
yeah,
can't. It's not negotiable at this moment.
right.
And there's some products I sell that are super low margins. And so like with selling it on eBay or Amazon, I don't make any money. Like I sold something the other day, I made like 5 cents. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, why am I even doing this? This is stupid."
Oh
So like
man,
I've been changing it to like having handling costs and now actually charging for shipping. For the
yeah,
longest time, I wanted to have free shipping because it just looks better, but they have map pricing on other items, so I can't change the
right.
price. So it puts me in kind of a hard spot. So I've been just adding shipping and handling costs to make up for it.
What do
But
you sell?
so I'm a authorized dealer of 35 brands. I can't probably name them off the top of my head, but from a
Okay.
Krapovich Akrapovic exhaust to M4 Performance exhaust is probably one of my best sellers.
Uh-huh.
Spark exhaust, Carvin car and truck exhaust. I also do like driven racing. I'm a Revit dealer.
Oh,
Um, Roland Stands designs gear, not their parts. I have
uh-huh.
OGO and Motul and O'Neill, Azonic, Blur Optics,
Uh-huh.
Core Moto brake lines, um, and a whole bunch of others. I operate EricSwahnRacing.com, and from there I have an eBay store and an Amazon store
Uh-huh.
and my own website, shopesr.com. So
So you
I'm,
know all about markup and
oh yeah,
percentages and stuff, yeah?
yeah, and some of the vendors, or one vendor in particular, I won't name them, but that I'm still working with, they used to be 50% margins, which was like, this is beautiful. Like that's what they offered when we started. And then he said, "Hey, I don't think we can do this anymore." And he was like, "I'm gonna cancel all distributors." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Like, hold your horses. Can we just have a lower percentage? Because most of them, I'd say, are between like 25 to 35%, um, or some. It goes both ways on either side sometimes, but that's the
Uh-huh.
general rule is about 30%, I'd say. So I was
Oh,
like,
really?
"Can we just do 30%?" And he's like, "All right, let's try that." So
He was willing to, he was gonna just drop you?
he was going to drop every single person and do it just himself. I'm like, you're losing out in this network of advertising your products on so many other websites.
Right,
And I'd be happy with a smaller percentage. I mean, I don't want that. I'd let as much as possible, but
right,
I'd rather have a lower percentage than to lose a vendor.
right. Huh. He didn't even ask his people if they would take less. He just assumed.
Yeah, he just assumed I was like, "Hey, wait a minute, can we try something else?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll think about that." And he chose to do that. So
Uh-huh.
sometimes it works out like that. But I got 22 brands are motorcycle related, motorsports. A few of them car parts like BC Racing and Silver Suspension, and Nam Industries is one that I have that's pretty big.
Uh-huh.
And then some motocross and some mountain bike parts. So try to stay motorsports related.
So do you carry all these parts? Like you actually drop ship them?
So they're all drop ship. When I started, my whole plan was start with um, things I had around the house, like CDs, DVDs, records, clothing, and put those on eBay. And that way I'll get a reputation, get some feedback history, get some sales history. And then I
Uh-huh.
went out to other companies who are selling products for drop ship. So right now I'm in the process of I've delisted all physical inventory that I had, like the smaller stuff, and there's boxes and bags sitting all right behind. I'm getting ready to go to Salvation Army and just donate the rest of them. It's like a
Uh-huh.
thousand a thousand items or so left from the couple thousand I started with. So I've shipped to all 50 states, I think 35 countries, a couple territories, and over 3,000 orders doing it that way. But now
Uh-huh.
it's time to move on and just do drop ship. That way I can operate from anywhere in the world and don't have to physically ship products anymore. It's just a matter of submitting the orders to the vendors.
Right.
And then once they're shipped, you know, uh, talking to the customers if they have questions and uploading a tracking number. And that's about it.
So you just take the order and send it on down the road.
Exactly. And then it's in transition now. Like it's tough because the inventory management software I was using for the past 4 or 5 years was very expensive. And in the off season, I'm not selling as much, and it doesn't make sense anymore for me to do it that way. So I used to
Uh,
have one hub that would sync to all the different marketplaces. And just in the last couple of weeks, I got rid of them and I'm doing it manually. So it creates problems where like some of the vendors operate like you do. They have parts and they make it once they get an order. They don't have a huge warehouse full of ready to ship products.
yeah.
It's a couple of week handling time, which is fine. That's a great model. Some of the other vendors have like inventory feeds, Excel sheets that output every hour or every day their new stock based on what they have. Well, now it creates a problem with it without having this inventory management software where it could now be online and it's not synced to their software anymore. So
Uh,
it could potentially oversell, which is a big problem. It says
how much was
zero,
the software?
like 10 grand a year.
Oh my God.
So it's like it makes sense if you're doing like $16,000 a month, but then
Right.
November comes around, you're like projecting $2,000. Like, oh no, I can't afford this, like overhead. So
You
I'm
can't
looking
just
for,
you can't just turn it off when you don't need it. You got to do the subscription.
yep, it's a subscription thing. And that includes like, it's like a team of people though that help you out if you have issues. They're not there to upload your products, but like, hey, I'm having issue uploading this. Can you
Yeah.
help me? And
Yeah.
they'll jump in. But it's just and there's you might think that's extremely expensive, which I do too, but there's ones that are 10 times that much for like enterprise level. Like you're talking
Yeah, dude.
$100,000 a month, but if you're selling $1 million a month, like
Right.
it's okay, I guess,
Right. Right.
so it's all levels. Like I guess I'm looking for a lower level now. Unfortunately, you always want to be growing up, not down. But I haven't failed. You only fail when you run out of money. So I'm trying to stop the bleeding and transition in a different way. So
Yeah, the business model's got to work for your lifestyle, right?
for sure. So that brings up something I wanted to ask. Now,
Uh-huh.
in all of you doing this, are you working other jobs? How are you funding this when it started? When you're still doing research for a year and a half?
Yeah. So I do have a day job, but I don't work much. I
Okay.
work so I'm a therapist. I'm a psychotherapist, and I might see one, two, three people a day.
All right.
Um, Early on in my career doing that 10 years ago when I started, it's draining.
I bet.
Trying to see five, six, seven people a day. Holy shit. I couldn't do it.
And they're
It just,
probably 1 hour sessions, or it might vary.
nope. Always 60-minute sessions. Um, one or two is good enough for me. I mean, to really be there and be present and work with people. I have a little office. That's where I'm right now. It's my therapy office. Um, but funding it, I got a little help early on from my parents. They believed in my idea and they saw my enthusiasm and they threw some money towards that project. And other than that little bit of seed money to get going to buy the materials to start experimenting, um, it's just been sell a couple monkey grips and throw it right back in the business. And that's just how it's been. I think they call that what do they call it? Bootstrapping.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, just I'm really against taking outside money, other than family who don't demand it back right away.
Sure.
Um,
I think for a while when I was starting this, I was like, I'd love to have a loan, even small $10,000 would be great. And then I was starting to look into, you got to pay it back obviously at some point and with interest, and that's not cheap. So you better expect to make more than you're taking,
right,
obviously. But
right.
it doesn't seem obvious at the time. But but then I was looking into like all these different people who are talking about getting loans for starting businesses,
Uh,
and you automatically say like, okay, well, I'm going to buy all this stuff. Well, what if you didn't have the money to buy those things? You'd probably get by anyways, maybe do it in a smarter way and maybe you didn't even need those things to begin with, but because you
Right.
have the money, you'd buy it.
Right. Yeah, you have to be willing to go at a slower pace and build it slowly. You know, people that want to just approach venture capital firms, or what do they call them? Angel investors is another way to get money. But man, the pressure you have on you to make a turn a profit and pay them back, and oh man, who wants that? Not me.
Yeah.
Um,
It seems like, yeah, it could grow a lot faster with that. And maybe you would, it depends how things are projecting. Like if you just need a couple more hands and bodies to like assemble your product or to upload the products online, that might be
uh,
one way to do it. But yeah, don't jump in head first if you don't have any numbers to go off of.
right, right. It seems really scary to me actually, because you know, what if the product doesn't take off? What if, you know, your projections aren't right, and then you're left with your dick in your hand? You know, just
Or some busted up kneecaps, right? You get
I
kneecapped.
don't know if venture capitalists do that mob style kind of shit.
Depends who you get
Uh,
your money from.
uh, so my parents helped me out, and then I just kept throwing the money back in. Um, the biggest cost is making the new bikes. Once I have the mold, they're really not. There's just the cost of the materials, the foam, the urethane. So there's a urethane coating on the outside, on the front side. The tape, which is freaking expensive. I don't know if you've ever messed around with 3M VHB tapes. The rolls can be thousands of dollars for
Oh, wow.
one roll of tape. That is like a 60-yard roll, but still, it's very expensive. All the materials it takes them, you know, put them together with the tape, and I use a promoter, an adhesive promoter. That's $100 a gallon, and but the biggest cost is making the new models. And I don't know if you've seen, I'm always putting out new bikes. Um, Me and my helpers, we can make, we do about two new bikes every 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's kind of our rate of speed of churning out new bikes. And man, there's, once you start looking, there's a lot of them, because you know there's the different years, right? Just take R6 alone. You've got 17 and to 20,
All
and they
different
just,
platforms.
oh yeah, every bike has, you know, these chunks of years where the tank changed, and we have to make a different monkey grip for each one. And I'm also making multiple versions for the bikes. Some of the older ones, like I think I only have one for the 03, 05 R6, and only two versions for a lot of the older bikes. But I'm doing four or more versions for the really popular bikes. Mini grips, which are kind of just a downsized version of the monkey grip with flat sidewalls, and really just for pushing you back in the saddle. So each version needs its own mold, and that's what takes the time and the money and the effort, is to make that, first the sculpture, and then the master pattern, and then the silicone mold. Um, the silicone is, Jesus. Guess how much a 5 gallon jug of silicone costs?
250.
Ha, 700.
Oh man.
$700 for 5 gallons of silicone.
So what can you do to lower your costs of production?
A production, I've looked for other manufacturers of the foam itself. The foam is very expensive. That's $900 a pop every time I get the 5 gallon kit of the foam. Um, to make the molds cheaper, I'm looking into doing fiberglass instead of um, this plasti paste, which is like super expensive. Very easy to work with, but expensive. And so I would be kind of trading, the cost of fiberglass is super cheap, but it's a huge pain in the ass. You have to have respirators, and it stinks to high heaven. And
Don't get it in your skin, right?
right, oh, you sanding it's a real nightmare. Um, so just kind of finding different materials to make the stuff from would cut some costs, but I'm kind of in a groove. I know how to work with what I've got, and just taking it slow in terms of growing. Just putting out the new bikes. Um, there's some getting the tanks. I've got a whole collection of fuel tanks. So every model that I do, I have to have the tank to sculpt on to
Yeah, I
get
was
that.
wondering about that. If you like put a notice out there, hey, looking for a 2012 R6, or anybody got a bike in the area you can drop off
Yeah.
for a couple days.
Well, I haven't sourced any locally, but I do on Facebook. I'll go into those forums and ask for a damaged tank. If it's damaged in the front, it doesn't bother me any. It just needs to be in good condition, kind of from the whole of the fuel inlet back. Um, I got one recently. Oh man, got a Aprilia, the new RSV4, the 20 what is it, 20 or 21? They came out with a new shape. The guy crashed his bike, broke the tank, and was really generous and just charged me shipping for it. So that was awesome.
Awesome.
That's like a $1,300 tank.
It's pretty expensive.
Very. The Ducati tanks were super expensive, damaged. The damage, I mean, huge dent in the front of these tanks. And the two Ducati tanks, I've got a V2 and the V4. And God, they were, I think it was 700 for the V4 and 500 for the V2.
Used and
Damaged.
damaged. Wow.
Oh my God. But the rest of them, the popular bikes, all the R6s and R1s and stuff, I can get a damaged one for about 200. But I've got a whole collection. I've got a shitload of tanks. I built this. I built this clean room in the garage where I've got plastic walls so that the dust doesn't go in there. And on the top of that, I've got all the tanks. So all my tanks are up there in the up above. But it's quite an investment just to make buy the tank, to buy the materials, to make the mold, and it's it's been a learning experience for sure.
I bet. And I know you're not looking for a loan, but say you went on Shark Tank. What would they say about your endeavor?
Oh, I know exactly what they would say. They would say, "So how many of these have you sold?" I'd say I've sold 600, which is true. I've sold just north of 600 right now.
Okay.
Um, which I think is amazing. This garage endeavor of this crazy product. But they would say, "What? You've only sold 600? Get the hell out of here!" And if they got past that, they would say, "This is really not everybody road races motorcycles, so get the hell out of here." I mean, they would just have one complaint after another with MonkeyGripp. I don't think I'm a good candidate for Shark Tank.
But I've heard many times in the past, like if you go after a hugely saturated market, like say you want to make a fitness DVD, like why are they going to buy yours? There's already 7 million fitness DVDs. How many
Right.
MonkeyGripp companies are there?
Not many.
I
True.
can't think of any other. I mean, I'm sure there's a few out there in the world, but there's not many who are making your product.
No, it's true. SE Composites, I think, makes a shroud, carbon fiber. So most of them out there are the carbon fiber ones.
Okay.
Um, only for a very few specific bikes. I don't know of anybody that's making them for as many bikes as I make them for. And no one's doing like multiple versions. Even the companies that are making those tank shrouds, they have one for your bike, and that's it. And if you don't like the shape, tough luck. So I'm really proud of kind of innovating the tank extender world by making it something that you can customize for your own. Like you were saying at the very beginning, every rider's different. Everybody's body geometry is different. And so I think MonkeyGripp has really broken into a new world of customization for road racing, because we offer so many versions. If you want one that's really like aggressive sidewalls, or the high profile would be the most aggressive, and then the low profile is a little less aggressive, but still has that outside curve. The mini grips are more of what you see like in World Superbike. I don't know if you've seen Jonathan Ray's bike, but he's got this really interesting tank extender that kind of inspired the shape of some of my mini grips. But we're also doing Harleys now.
Okay.
So I think I've got 4 different Harleys, but multiple versions of each bike. We're doing the Dyna. We're doing the Road Glide, which was the popular, King of the Baggers races. The new Bagger Racing League is running V twins and XR 1200s, and so we started getting into that. Haven't sold many of them, but I think it could be potentially a real game changer for the V twin world, because God, those bikes are not meant for racing. There's nothing to hang on to with your leg,
Yeah.
you know. And so the guys, there's Arnie Wells collaborated with me on a design for his Road Glide, and he says it makes a huge difference for him.
Yeah,
Um,
I met him at the Bagger Racing League in Milwaukee at the Milwaukee Mile, I think it was. I was doing a track marshal gig there, waving the flags, and he was racing along with the Coffords. The
yeah,
Coffers.
Coffords.
Yep, there's some good guys.
Yep, small world, isn't it? I
Yeah,
worked with the Coffords to make several for their what was theirs? Shit. What are they racing?
big Harley looking thing.
um, I think those are Sportsters.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a Sportster, but they have a special tank that's Nornero. It's called a Legacy tank, and so I worked with them to make monkey grips for them that we offer on the website. But they really helped by um, so when I work with a rider, this is one thing I haven't mentioned yet. Um, I'll send them this kids sculpting material. Get it from Amazon. Just have it shipped to them directly. It's called Model Magic.
Like a clay of sorts.
It's kind of like clay, but I think they call it a foam.
All right.
It's air hardening, so in the air it sort of hardens. It stays a little pliable, which isn't great. But what they can do is they can make the shape on their tank the way they want it, and then take pictures of it and send it back to me. We really take pictures now, because in the mail the thing is totally screwed by the time I get it.
Yeah.
It's like not the right shape anymore. But I can figure out what they want in terms of height, and how aggressive they want the curve, and so I've done that with a lot of different riders, where I'll send them the Model Magic and they make what they want. They send it back. It's not really a custom, because I'll change it. We do offer custom monkey grips. They're $1,500 if you want to work with me to make one just for you, where we go back and forth, where you'll send me your model, I'll make my master pattern, send it back, and you try it on the bike and see if it's the right. If it's not, I'll change it. And so I'll work with people to really customize, make a custom for them if they have the money for it.
Yeah, and you said you have a couple different models that are like off the rack standard. So what do those go for if somebody wants to get one? What are the costs of those grips standard off the shelf?
Oh, they're 225 for a solid
225.
color.
Okay.
The Harleys are a bit more. Those are 280 for the really big ones, because they're just so much material and they're harder to make. So most of the, except for the Harleys, they're 225, and then the logo color is an extra $15. We're not doing the 2-piece anymore. People can order them, the ones that I have, because it started off as a 2-piece design.
Hmm.
I don't think we've talked about that. Which I really prefer. People don't like the way they look, so I've gone to the 1-piece only.
Okay.
Not doing any more 2-piece unless the bike calls for it. We have several for the Ovale, so we do the GP0, the GP2, and they're basically knee stops. It's not really for hanging off so much; it's as to stop the rider from going forward. Um, so the design started as two piece, and the reason why I like it is because one, they're lighter because there's less material, and because there's nothing in the middle, you can it doesn't inhibit your tuck as much.
I see.
You can get down on the tank without hitting the monkey grip with your chest, or stomach or whatever. But people really 100 to 1 people want one piece and really don't want the two piece. So that's kind of we're not doing those anymore.
Sure. Go with what sells, right?
Right? I mean, you got to. Um, I told someone the other day, customer's always right. And boy, I think they own a small business. They're like, the customer's not always right. It's like, well, they've got the money. You want to sell to them, customers got to be right. But it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, you can cater to them a little bit, but I don't think you should be bending over backwards and killing yourself for it.
Right.
There's a limit.
Right. Well, the people that say they're ugly, it's like, okay,
Maybe
I'm
it's
not.
not for you then. You
Maybe
could
it's
paint
not
a
for you.
flower
Yeah.
on it.
Right. Okay, move
Um,
along, Power Ranger.
right. Um, so what you mentioned you have the Ovales, you have some of the Harleys, the Yamahas. What other brands do you make them for?
Um, so we're just starting the Hondas. Um, the Hondas aren't popular at the track much, are they? Have you noticed that?
They seem like they're a turd at the track.
They're a turd at the track. Yeah, totally. That in my race club that I was a part of, definitely not many Hondas, and so I kind of left that till the very end. But so um, one of my best sellers is the Triumph,
The
the
675.
the Daytona, and those will also fit the 670 7. Wait, what is it?
765.
Yes, right. The Moto 2 bike.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the same tank. The Speed Triple has the same tank. Make a couple for that. All the Kawasaki's really. I went back to, I think the oldest thing I do is like the Ninja 250.
Okay.
That's a two piece. Ninja 300 is a two piece, and some of the early ones were the two piece for the Kawasaki's. Ninja 400, it's really popular. Got a bunch for that. What else?
Any
Uh,
BMWs or MV?
yeah, no MV Agustas. Lots of Aprilias. I just finished pretty much the whole lineup. I've got the Gen 1, which is what, '09 to 12, and then the Gen 2, the 13 to 20, I think they changed it, and the more recent one. So I've got all the RSV4s. Just did some for the RS 660,
Oh yeah.
um, which has got the best tank out there,
You think so?
right?
That's a newer bike that they just put out, the Aprilia.
Yep. That RSV 660 tank is, I was really surprised at how many people wanted a monkey grip for it, because it just seems like that tank's perfect. But people are complaining about the harsh edge on their inner thigh.
Hmm.
So the two that we make for that one, it kind of softens that edge of the tank a little bit. Gives a little bit more surface for the outside leg to hang off while you're hanging off. Um,
Any of the Indian?
no Indians yet. No, I've got the Indian Scout, but I don't think I'm going to do that yet because the Harleys haven't been selling.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll pick up next year when they start seeing them at the races, and sort of disappointed about that because the King of the Bagger event, O'Hare was killing it in that, and he had a tank extender, and then Kyle Wyman and his brother, they both have extenders on their road glides, and so I thought, offering to the other racers, because those were custom. Those are like, Harley made that for the Wymans, I believe,
Hmm.
just for them to race those Moto America events,
Wow.
and was hoping the club racers would really turn on to the advantages on those big V twins, but hasn't really spread yet. So I got hopes for that next year. Hopefully that'll pick up.
Yeah, or
Uh,
maybe even the Royal Enfield bikes. Those are the women's league.
yep, I did that. I've got two bikes, um, not two bikes, one bike, that GT 650 that the women are racing. I do have a two piece for that and a one piece.
You talked about your career profession, and I wanted to know about your racing history. And I know you're over in Colorado area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Found out you're in Mountain Time, not Eastern Time.
Yep.
And so tell me about the tracks you raced at and the organization you raced for and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
So it's MRA. Um, and we have three tracks. Well, four if you consider IMI is a little 1 mile go-kart track that you can take bikes to, it's really fun. Even the big bikes go there.
That's cool.
But we have Pueblo Motorsports Park, I think they call it. Maybe I'm getting the name wrong, but that's down in Pueblo, past Colorado Springs. And we have High Plains Raceway out in Byers, which is about an hour east of Denver. Those two tracks are really fun, really great. I raced for 3 seasons. And then I started MonkeyGripp, and really, I really miss it. I wish I had the time and the money to keep racing, but all my energy has gone into this into the MonkeyGripp. Um, and racing was just a blast. I grew up, riding motorcycles as a kid, and was on the street. And I remember being 20 something and passing a racetrack. And I thought it was the dumbest thing, like going around and around the same turns over and over. I just thought it was the stupidest thing at the time. And looking back, I so regret not getting into it sooner. I was 40 when I started racing. Well, started track days. Did track days for a couple years before I felt confident enough to race. Um, and God, it's just I was hooked the very first day. I mean, the first lap around, I was like, "Holy shit! What was I missing?" Like, just pushing the bike to the limit, and God, it was so addictive. It's all I wanted to do.
There's no
Well,
cops, no minivans, no sand in the corner. You got people watching
exactly.
every corner with a flag in their hand and people ready to run out and save you if you
Yep.
do have an issue.
Yep. If you low sided, you're good. The only thing to worry about was high siding, and I did that once. Had one high side my whole brief 3 year career racing.
That's not bad.
Um,
Only one.
Only one. Yep. It was, man. That was, I didn't know it was so violent.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
you
it's like the ground is really hard.
it was the shooting off the bike that I didn't realize was so violent, but really missed it. I was I guess better than average. I see your trophies there behind you.
Yeah.
Uh, got some got some podiums doing that, and really enjoyed it. Um, I beefed up an R6, put a big bore kit in it, and tricked it out with all the suspension, and really put a lot of money in that bike and had a lot of fun. Um, I'd probably still be doing it if I hadn't come up with this MonkeyGripp thing. I probably would be uh, racing still. Maybe get back to it one day.
And was that did they have an MRA like a novice expert licensing?
Yep, yep. Novice. The MRA also has Super Street, so that was the first experience I had racing.
Yeah.
Was this? Was it? I think it was on. So race weekends were Saturday, Sunday. Friday was track day, and then Saturday, Sunday. And on Saturday evening, after all the races were finished, they would have a super street, which was unlicensed racers could go out there and do a little. They had a little coaching, and they would do like two by two starts with the red light, going off, and then they would have a mock race. And that was the first taste I had doing that. And at the time, I had a Gixxer 1000.
Oh boy.
Yeah, my first track bike was a Gixxer 1000. I think I crashed 12 times that first track. My first year riding on the racetrack,
Yeah.
I think I crashed about 12 times.
Man, you're pushing.
Well, I was so stupid. Looking back, people say, "Oh yeah, I got this leader bike. I'm going to go on the track." Dude, start on a 400 or 300. And I couldn't have been convinced to do that. I was just so dead set. Like, I've been riding since I was 13, and I'm gonna take my leader bike on the track. It was so stupid, but it was really fun. It was really fast. I think it had 186 horsepower. It was
Oof.
built. Yeah, it was a fast bike. A lot more bike for me. Too much bike.
Yeah, everybody who doesn't know about the track thinks that you want to start with the biggest engine possible, and it's
Yeah,
it's not about that. It comes
right.
down to, if you want to talk about parts, it's just suspension,
Yep,
tires, and brakes.
yep.
And I
And
would
monkey grips.
and monkey grips, of course, that adds a couple horsepower. And
Yeah,
but it's really not about the machine. It's about the
right.
rider, because your body English or your body position has such an effect
Yeah,
on how the motorcycle steers and turns and
yeah.
accelerates.
But you can't convince a newbie that that's true. And I was guilty of that 1000%. I wanted the fastest bike, and that was it. And then got smart as time went on, like you said.
And I raced a 600 all the times that I was on the track, but I
Uh-huh.
raced that 600 in both super stock, super bike, 600 classes, both 750 classes, and both 1000 classes.
Oh wow.
So you can race up, and I've won
Yeah.
championships in each of those
Oh wow.
with a
If you're
600.
fast. If you're
So
fast, you can.
if you're fast, you definitely can, and you can really compete unless you're going to like a really long straightaway track like Road America or maybe
Uh,
even Road Atlanta. But you can still
right,
make up a lot of time in the breaks. And
right.
my buddy had a 1000. It was a Honda, and I had the
Ooh.
Kawasaki 600, and I was always a couple seconds faster than him at every track, and he had 50 to 80 horsepower more than I did. So it's like it's not always the bike; it's usually the rider. And I would
Absolutely.
always advocate for, like I said, upgrade those three things I mentioned: suspension, tires, and brakes. But after that, I didn't even paint my bike. Like, I just had primer gray bodywork with
Uh-huh.
duct tape number plates.
Oh,
I
my kind of guy.
and I spent all my money on like track days and coaching. I took
Yeah.
the Jason DeSalvo Speed Academy a couple times,
Uh-huh.
and that just made me excel so much faster. And
Right.
reading like the twist of the wrist, the Keith Code stuff,
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
understanding the fundamentals is way more important than buying an exhaust or doing your engine.
Yep. 1000%. I agree.
So
And to plug my product again, the monkey grip really makes a difference at that level. I think it's up there with suspension, tires, brakes, and I would totally agree with you that those three come first. But the connection to the bike is really important too, to really maximize the learning and to get really good, at the level that you must have been racing at too.
yeah, it's a ergonomics are huge. Like, I'd say clip-ons and rear sets are important because you can adjust the positions of them. The rear sets I would always move up as high as possible so your feet aren't dragging on the ground as much, and
Right,
maybe even a little bit forward so the weight's more forward instead of back. Um, but it's all rider preference, right? If you're feeling comfortable on the bike, then chances are you can push a little faster. If everything
right,
feels like it's under control, you're not going fast enough.
right. What do they say? You have to go slow to go fast.
Yeah, and that's one of the techniques that Jason DeSalvo was using in his academy. It was I thought it was crazy. We were going like 50% of our pace around the racetrack. And I'm like, what are we doing? Why am I paying money for this? And
Uh-huh.
then he goes into it deeper and he says, if you can do it perfect at 50%, I want to see that lap perfectly. Like you're hitting every turn in point, you're hitting their apex, you're hitting your exit
Right.
point, and then connecting them all together for the next turn.
Right.
And I'm gonna go around right behind you with a camera, and I want to see you do it perfectly. Like nobody cares what your lap time is for this session.
Uh-huh.
And then let's try to do it at, if you completed it perfectly at 50%, let's go to 60%. Oh, you
Yeah.
made a mistake. Let's go back, and so you can't go just 100% until you've mastered the lower percentages.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of eye-opening because I was like, well, I was making mistakes at 94%. So like I'm trying to go to 100%, you're gonna crash 12 times a season. If
Yeah.
you're just going balls to the wall and you're not really understanding what you're doing, you're missing your marks. You
Right.
gotta take a step back, go slower to go faster is a huge thing.
Yeah. That's why I crashed 12 times my first year.
It's like you're doing something wrong fundamentally. It's
Right.
like if it happens like once or twice a season, maybe it could have been conditions. It could have been you got a little too throttle happy for the high side, but it's like you're overloading the tire past its 100% traction points
Right.
idea. So
Yeah.
it's like,
That's the champ school thing, right?
yep. Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about that. I'm not sure if
Oh,
they
they do?
well, it's just the idea of you can only brake so hard, and then when you start braking and turning, you got to release brake pressure because some of the force is now for turning. So
Uh-huh.
you just can't overload that number. But yeah, there's a lot of schools of thought based on how to ride a motorcycle. There's a lot of
Right.
opinions out there.
Right. Have you ever done champ school?
I have not. I did the DeSalva one, and I have done the California Superbike School.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Did you meet, what's his name? Keith Code?
He wasn't there that day. I met his son, Dylan Code, who's
Uh-huh.
teaching the school classroom. And I've done STT, Sport Bike Track Time, Pro Schools, um, and just got a lot of one-on-one training from racers who are beating me. I think that's really how I improved so much is just I wanted to get up into expert as fast as possible so that I
Uh-huh.
could see the people doing it in front of me and model them directly by just
Right.
watching them.
Right.
Because you can say it all day in the classroom, but until you see it in front of you, you're like, oh, I didn't know I could go through that corner 15 miles an hour faster.
Right.
Um,
Are you not racing anymore?
so I'm not racing right now. Um, I've gotten into things like karting and mountain bike racing and foot racing. Did an indoor triathlon, and now I'm doing sim racing in my living room with the wheel and pedal system.
Oh,
And
really?
but I am still at the track. I was coaching for STT last year. I'm a
Uh-huh.
coach for MSF, Motorcycle Safety Foundation. I'm a private coach for USMCA, and that's the United States Motorcycle Coaching Association.
Uh-huh.
And I got a job. I got two new jobs I can talk about. I haven't done them yet. It's still provisional, but it looks like it's really, really good and going to work out.
What's that?
Um, California Superbike School. I went down there
Oh,
to
really?
Virginia to do their to take the school as a student, and then at the end of the day get evaluated. I passed the riding portion, the oral exam, and now I have like 3 months of homework. It's like it's not just okay, you're a coach now, go coach them. It's like this is our exact procedure of everything that we do. You
Oh,
gotta like
wow.
memorize a binder full of stuff. It is extensive. It is not just like go out there and coach them. So
Wow.
there's videos and debriefings I'm going through, and I'm talking with one of the lead coaches,
Huh.
deputy riding coach, I think it is, and he's like giving me feedback on the homework. He's like, "Yep, number one is great. Number two is great. Number three, maybe you got to reword this a little bit." He's like, "I know I'm being picky, but it has to be perfect."
Oh, they're
Um,
making you write essays?
it's like questions. So I wouldn't say it's essays, but it's like watch this debrief that might be 20 minutes to an hour for one session, and then tell me why we're doing this drill. What is the main sticking point? What's the whole purpose of this drill?
Huh.
And you can't be vague about it. It's how can you explain something? Imagine they're a 2-year-old and you're trying to explain them a concept. Like
Huh.
too many words. You're getting into other um my thing was I was starting to describe other parts of other exercises that we haven't gotten to yet. Like that's for another exercise. You got to stick to this exercise before you go to the next one,
Oh,
things
wow.
like that. So I should be in March starting that one for CSS, California Superbike School.
You're gonna fly out there?
Yep. So they go to I think 10 or 11 states and about 6 countries they operate in. And so it'll be California, Nevada, Washington, Virginia, Alabama, maybe Georgia, and a couple others, Kentucky, I think. So all over the country. I don't expect to be going overseas just yet. I'm sure that'll be down the road if that happens. But I know they go to like the Philippines, Australia, UK, US, Spain,
Wow.
maybe Portugal.
So you go to every event that they have. You travel to each.
So I should be doing, I think, 80 to 90 days of on-track coaching throughout the year.
Oh wow, that's
And
your job. What a cool job.
hell yeah. So like I said, I haven't done it yet, but it's looking really good. Like they offered me the position, I signed the contracts, and now I'm just
Wow.
going through the homework. And something that's sooner than that is I think I might be in Michigan for another 2 months or so. And then I'm moving to Vegas is the plan because a couple of weeks ago I flew down there for a job interview evaluation for another company. It's called Exotics Racing or Speed Vegas, both the same name, same company. Um, and they have 4 programs that they do. They have a karting experience, they have a drift car experience, they have a off-road experience, and with like those trophy trucks and ATVs and things.
Uh-huh.
And then they do the supercar driving experience. So for now, I will be a supercar driving coach for like Ferrari, Porsche, Lamborghini, Maserati, Ford Performance, like
Wow.
all sorts of different high-end supercars. And so they offered me the position. I passed my driving test. I passed the written exam and the coaching evaluation. So I'll pretty much be the guy sitting in the passenger seat telling you what to do, telling the driver what to do. Some of the cars are equipped with a brake pedal, but I don't think I'll have a wheel at my disposal. But so that's an
Oh, you
opportunity of a lifetime. So it's like,
two awesome jobs.
how can I say no to this? I can't just turn this down, even though it's like moving your life 2,000 miles across the country. I don't have anybody I know in Vegas. I'm sure I'll make friends. It's not a
Uh-huh.
huge deal, but it's like, yeah, what an opportunity. So
Yeah, really. What fun.
I got to take it. And right after Thanksgiving, today's November 14th, 2022. I think on the 28th of November, I'll be going down. I already got a flight and an Airbnb
Uh-huh.
for a week. So I'll be doing my 3 days of training for the car driving job, and then working for about a week, coming back like December 7th or something. So
Uh-huh.
that's like a test run. I did one day before for the interview, then they offered me it, and now I'm going to go back for a week test run to make sure I want to actually move across the country and like find a place to stay,
Uh-huh.
um, and get an apartment or something. So now it's like, okay, my plan was already to donate all this inventory so I could be more free. But now it's like, okay, well, I have tons of stuff. Do I have to get like one of those pods and ship it across the country? Like, what do I do with my couch? Like, should I sell my washer and dryer and just buy a new one there or use a laundromat? Like, it's just a logistical nightmare,
Oh, I
right?
bet.
So I've never moved across the country. Have you ever done that before?
Well, from Ohio to Colorado, yeah,
It's kind of far, a couple, maybe 1,000 miles.
1,000 miles. It was a. I just packed everything in my little pickup that I could, and that was all I carried.
Yeah. Well, you just leave
And
everything else at the side of the road?
parents' house, and I got some land in Virginia. I got a barn there, and um, but it sounds like an adventure. Two awesome jobs.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So just trying to do jobs that I would be best suited for. Like I think I'm a good office worker, but that doesn't like light my soul on fire, right?
Right.
So
Sounds like
um
you're balls deep in racing in every way.
yeah, I'm just obsessed. And this podcast outlet, I just looked it up the other day. I produced 7 days, 4 hours and 47 minutes of free content in the last 2.5 years by doing this.
7 days straight of podcast.
Yep, if you put them all together.
Uh-huh.
So it's like 176 hours of podcasting so far.
Cool. I'm gonna go
So
back and listen to some of them.
heck yeah, man. So what's on your mind today?
What's on my plate, you mean? Or
Or what's on your mind? Anything you want to talk about? I feel like I'm
oh,
rambling now.
well, my what's always on my mind these days, I told you about my dog.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh she's got cancer and she's on her last days, so that's been really hard. I was worried about doing this podcast with you because I've been kind of stressed and depressed about it. I just love this dog to death. She is just the sweetest, and she's not doing so good.
That's never
So
fun.
that's
It's
that's what's on my mind. I was just thinking of going up and visiting with her and making sure that she's okay. Um, so kind of a drag, but that's what's on my mind. Eric is my dog. I love her so much, and she's not doing so well.
sorry to hear that, man. It's tough. They become a huge friend, like an asset in your
Oh
back
man,
pocket. You can
yeah.
always just I know you're a therapist, but you can confide with her, right? She's not going to tell anybody.
Well, she actually did therapy with me for a while.
Okay.
She was in the sessions and she would sit on the couch and put her head on people's laps and was a really important part of therapy for people where they she could just calm them down and relax them in a way that was unmatched by any breathing exercise or anything, they really liked having her around, but when she got sick, she stopped wanting to come down and do that.
Hmm.
She didn't want to. It was really interesting. She didn't want to. I think she gave a lot in those sessions, and may sound weird, but when she got cancer, she she kind of didn't come down the stairs because she would when someone came to the door for a session. I work from home. Um, she would come down and greet the person and then sit with them, and she stopped doing that.
It's an I mean their demeanor changes as they age, right? Their enthusiasm kind of maybe might wane a little bit. But I find it so interesting how animals can just sense your mood, sense like they pick up on things, maybe nonverbal. I don't know if it's a scent that you're giving out based on your hormones or your feelings,
Yeah,
but they can just pick up right away and they know how you are.
yeah, yes, they're amazing. Cats too. Cats too. I think they have a bad reputation, but cats are very sensitive too.
They're very smart. I haven't never had my own dog. I love dogs, but I just gone too much with going to the track and everything. And
Uh-huh.
so I have a cat, um, Luna. I've had her for a couple of months now. My last
Kitten.
cat, little kitty. I just call her Kitty. I forget her name sometimes. Like, oh, hey, Luna. She doesn't respond to Luna. It's just Kitty. Um, but the last cat I had, Ninja, unfortunately, he got hit by a car
Oh
last
no.
year. So he was an indoor outdoor cat, and he was a stray for so many years before we got him. So I
Uh-huh.
felt like it was rude to keep him inside.
Right.
It's like at some point, I think he's gonna have a better life if he's outside and in nature, like he's so used to being, and would always whine at the door when we kept him inside. So I was like, okay, well, here you go. Just don't get hit by a car. And
Oh.
but what do you think? Do you think they have a less quality of life if they're kept inside all the time?
That's a good question. My fiance is really adamant about not letting our cat outside.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me at first because I felt like she deserved to be outside. Like her quality of life was less because she was inside 100% of the time. But I think I've changed my mind. That I think that if they're adjusted to being inside, that cats can just be inside and not feel like they're missing out. But if they were a stray and got used to that, like you said, I think that might be different. Where if it's a kitten and they just are inside, then they don't kind of know what they're missing. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's true. And this Luna, she was outside one time because she ripped a screen and escaped. And
Escaped.
she was like so scared, so afraid, like wide eye, like head down, And
Uh,
she's like, I don't know what to do now. I've never been out here before. This is strange.
uh,
She's always looking at it out the window, but yeah, she doesn't really care to. She doesn't whine at the door like Ninja did. So I'm keeping her inside, and I don't want to lose another cat like that. It sucks. You
yeah,
know, I feel like if it's one thing if the animal is like 25 years old and kind of ready to go. It's the other one if they're 10 or 9 and they get their life taken away from them.
right. Well, I had a girlfriend a while back who was an ornithologist, and I don't know if she specialized in it, but I know that she was very aware of how many birds get killed
That's a big thing, yeah,
by cats. A lot of birds. I mean, millions of birds in the United States get taken out by cats.
for
And
sure. It's a kind of a tragedy. I mean, they're hunters. They're they're pretty vicious creatures, really. I've
yeah,
had Ninja brought me a bird inside once. It was still alive actually. Um,
is
and
it
it was
bird?
flying. It was okay. It just went up in like the rafters and everything, and got a whole bunch of spider webs on her, and she was all tangled up in the dust bunnies, and I had to like pick up apart all the different dust and spider webs that she was stuck in and let her,
Uh-huh.
and she flew away from my hand out the back door. I was
Oh,
like,
good.
wow, that was pretty cool.
It's tragic when the cats kill a bird but don't eat it.
Yeah,
Like, you're gonna kill it, eat it.
it's a waste, right?
It is, and they just kill it for the sport, it seems, and that seems like a bummer.
Yeah, not ideal, but that's actually about an hour and a half, so we could probably wrap it up here.
Okay.
And I appreciate you talking to me for about an hour and a
Yeah,
half or
it was
so.
fun.
And I'll get this posted and out there pretty quick.
Sweet. Yeah, it's good talking to you. Good luck with your jobs. It sounds like a lot of fun.
For sure. I'll be sure to keep you posted, and I'm sure I'll see you at the racetrack.
Oh, maybe not. I'm at home working on monkey grips all the time, man.
All right, that's cool.
Okay, see you, Eric.
Have a good one.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.